How can you get your audience to connect with you on a personal level? How can you get them invested in your presentations? Mastering the art of storytelling is a very important factor in creating an effective presentation, an entertaining presentation, and a memorable presentation. When you master the art of storytelling, your presentations will connect with your audience much more. First, I'm going to share with you about breaking down the walls with stories. And second, I'm going to share with you about planting ideas and emotions into a listener's brain with stories. Opening statements in court are good examples of breaking down the walls with stories. Pay attention to how Mr. Chandler Irvin effectively tells a story about his client for the opening statement.
Picture in your mind a young woman. She's about 35 years old. She's a wife, a school teacher, and a devoted mother. Her days in the summertime are spent taking care of her two young daughters. She wakes them up in the morning, makes them breakfast, gets them dressed, and sends them outside to play. She cleans up the house, brings them in for lunch, sends them back outside to play. She does their laundry. She takes care of them. She brings them in for dinner and gets them ready for bed. She makes sure that they brush their teeth, taken a bath, said their prayers, and she puts them to bed at night. And then after all of that, she takes a little bit of time for herself. She unwinds, she bathes, she relaxes for a bit and goes to bed, secure in the knowledge that she's safe in her home, that her husband will be home, and that she's going to get to do it all over again tomorrow. Members of the jury, do you know what it sounds like when the world ends? Brandy Alexander does. She would tell you that it sounds like gunshots waking you from a sound sleep.
Notice how he broke down the walls of the jury by telling a short story about Brandy Alexander. This allowed the jury to connect with the topic on a deeply personal level. He got the jury comfortable enough to care about the topic at hand instead of boring and overwhelming them with facts at the start. Bryan Stevenson, the speaker who earned the longest standing ovation in TED history, spent 65% of his presentation telling stories. Carmine Gallo. He didn't bury the audience in data, statistics, or information at the beginning of his presentation. Bryan Stevenson shortly spends his first minute and a half for a short introduction, then tells a personal story about his grandmother. With this story, you start to open up to him. You get hooked and care about what he is talking about. He doesn't seem like a robot. He seems genuine about his presentation and you start to connect with him. There's a reason why he got the longest standing ovation, and it's because he effectively used stories and broke down the walls with them. Now let's take a look at the second point. How can we plant ideas and emotions into a listener's brain? Brain coupling. Well, what is it? It's when different brains sync up. Uri Hasson found that when a speaker presented a personal story, the listener shared the same brain activity as the speaker. If a certain part of the speaker's brain activated, the same part would activate in the listener's brain. This means that you can influence the thoughts and emotions of your audience using stories. A wordy PowerPoint slide with bullet points activates the language processing center of the brain, where we turn words into meaning. Stories do much more, using the whole brain and activating language, sensory, visual, and motor areas. Carmine Gallo. When the audience listens to a speaker's stories, their whole brain is being used. The more active the audience's brains are, the more engaged they will be, making it easy to plant ideas and emotions into their brains. Now let's consider that stories break down walls, connect our brains together, and activate our whole brain. Mastering the art of storytelling allows the audience to connect and feel with you. Using stories in your presentations will leave a deeper impact on your audience. Stories illustrate, illuminate, and inspire. Carmine Gallo.